They thought she was alone, vulnerable, an easy target on a crowded Friday night.
But in less than 30 seconds, the hunters became the hunted.
Because some people walk with invisible armies, and tonight, 3 predators were about to learn the most terrifying lesson of their lives.
Never assume you know who you're dealing with. This is a story about power that doesn't need to shout, protection that moves like shadows, and the moment when confidence meets reality. What you're about to hear will
change how you see every stranger, on every street corner. Because sometimes,
the most dangerous person in the room is the one who looks the most ordinary. Let's begin. The neon sign flickered against the brick wall, painting everything in shades of electric blue and deep shadow. Friday night in the downtown district meant one thing: chaos dressed as entertainment. Bass from the bar speakers vibrated through the sidewalk itself,
mixing with the sounds of laughter, shouted conversations,
and the distant wail of
sirens that were as much a part of the city's soundtrack as the traffic,
horns and late-night delivery trucks rattling over potholes. The street was packed, groups of friends stumbling between bars,
couples arguing about which club to hit next, solo drinkers stepping outside to escape the noise or to chase it, depending on their mood. And there she was,
standing near the corner wall, just outside the main entrance.
A woman in her 30s, maybe. Dark jacket, nothing fancy.
Probably picked it up at any department store. Hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She held a glass of something clear. Vodka soda, gin and tonic. Could have been anything. She held it the way people hold drinks when they're not really drinking them.
Just using them as props. Something to do with their hands.
To anyone walking past, she was invisible.
Just another face in the Friday night crowd.
Someone waiting for friends, maybe.
Or taking a break from the noise inside.
Nothing about her screamed important or wealthy or connected. Nothing that would make you look twice.
But to 3 men loitering near the alley entrance, 20 feet away, she represented something else entirely. Opportunity.
The 3 of them had been watching her for the past 10 minutes. Their friends knew the pattern. They always worked this way. Find someone isolated. Someone who looked distracted or alone.
Someone who wouldn't cause too much trouble.
The first one pushed her from the wall where he'd been leaning, cigarette dangling from his lips. He moved slowly, casually,
positioning himself between her and the bar's entrance.
To anyone watching, it looked natural. Just another drunk guy wandering around. But it wasn't random.
The second one laughed at something his buddy said, loud enough to draw attention, then moved behind her.
Not close enough to alarm her yet,
but close enough to cut off the exit toward the main street. The third one fumbled with his phone, acting distracted, but sliding into position near her left side, creating the final wall of their invisible cage. Within 30 seconds, they had her boxed in.
The crowd kept moving around them. No one noticed. No one cared.
Everyone was too absorbed in their own nights, their own dramas, their own desperate attempts to squeeze happiness out of expensive drinks and loud music. That's the thing about cities.
You can be surrounded by hundreds of people and still be completely alone. The first man stepped closer.
His breath hit her face.
A mix of beer and cigarette smoke and cheap cologne that had stopped
working hours ago.
"Hey," he said, his voice low, intimate in a way that made your skin crawl. "You look lonely."
His friends grinned.
This was the part they enjoyed. The moment when their target realized what was happening.
The fear in the eyes, the stammering,
the panic.
She looked at him, but there was no fear. Her eyes were calm, analytical, like she was studying him,
calculating something he couldn't understand. The man frowned. This wasn't the reaction he expected.
"You hear me?" he said, louder now, trying to regain control of the moment. His hand reached toward her arm.
And that's when everything changed.
She set the glass down on the ground.
Slowly, deliberately, like she was clearing her hands for something.
Then she straightened her shoulders and exhaled softly.
She didn't say a word.
She didn't need to, because the crowd was already moving. At first, you couldn't tell what was different.
The flow of people seemed normal, random, chaotic, like it had been all night. But if you looked closer, really looked, you'd see the pattern. 3 men in dark suits emerged from the bar's entrance.
They moved through the crowd like sharks through water. Smooth, purposeful, unstoppable. White earpieces coiled down from their ears.
Their eyes were locked on her, not scanning the crowd, not looking around, just her. 2 more appeared from across the street,
stepping off the curb in perfect synchronization.
Their jackets hung slightly wrong, weighted down by something hidden beneath. Another one materialized from the alley entrance, the same alley the predators had been using as their staging ground. Within 10 seconds, there were 6 of them,
all moving toward her, all moving with the kind of precision that doesn't come from luck or coincidence.
This was training, rehearsal, protocol. The three men who had her cornered finally noticed. "What the hell?" one of them muttered.
His friend took a step back. Who is she?
The suited men didn't speak.
They didn't need to. Their presence said everything.
One of them touched his earpiece, murmuring something too quiet to hear. His eyes swept the rooftops, the windows, the surrounding streets. Another positioned himself directly between her and the three men, his stance wide, his hands loose at his sides, ready. The third began clearing space, gently but firmly moving civilians back, creating a perimeter that grew wider with every passing second. This wasn't a rescue. This was an extraction. The woman still hadn't moved.
She stood there, calm as glass, watching the three men who had tried to trap her.
Her expression wasn't angry, wasn't smug, wasn't anything really, just calm.
Because she knew something they didn't.
She had never been alone, not for one single second. The crowd started to notice now. Phones came out. Whispers spread like wildfire.
Is that Secret Service? Who is she?
Did you see how they just appeared? They had earpieces, man.
This is government.
One of the predators tried to back away,
But a suited man stepped smoothly into his path.
not touching him, not threatening him, just standing there, a wall of quiet authority. The message was clear. You're not going anywhere until we say so.
Another black sedan pulled up to the curb.
Doors already unlocked. Engine running. The timing was too perfect to be chance. This vehicle had been circling the block, waiting for the signal. One of the suited men opened the rear door, his movements sharp and efficient.
She finally moved. She walked toward the car, her steps unhurried, her posture relaxed.
As she passed the three men who had cornered her, she glanced at them once, just once, and in that look was everything they needed to understand. You made a mistake tonight.
A big one. You tried to corner someone you should never have touched.
One of them dropped his cigarette.
His hands were shaking.
She slid into the back seat without a word. The door closed with the heavy sound of armored construction, and the sedan pulled away, smooth as silk.
Flanked by two more vehicles that seemed to appear out of nowhere.
The suited men dispersed just as quickly as they'd arrived. Within 60 seconds, the street corner looked normal again.
But it didn't feel normal. The crowd stood frozen, staring at the space where the sedan had been, trying to process what they'd just witnessed.
Inside the bar, the story was already spreading.
Bartender heard it from a regular who'd been outside smoking.
The regular told his girlfriend.
She told the group at the next table. Within minutes, everyone was talking about it.
Some woman just got evacuated by government agents. I swear, they moved like soldiers.
She didn't even look scared, like she knew they were coming. Who the hell was she? No one had an answer. The three men who started it all sat in a dark corner booth, nursing drinks they couldn't taste.
They didn't speak, didn't make eye contact.
Their hands still trembled slightly every time they lifted their glasses. They had thought they were hunters.
They had been so wrong. By morning, the story had spread across the city. Coffee shops burst with retellings. Social media posts multiplied.
Everyone had a theory.
She's a diplomat.
No, CIA.
Maybe a witness in protective custody.
I bet she's royalty, foreign princess or something.
But here's the thing. No one ever found out the truth.
No names were released. No official statements were made.
No explanations offered.
And somehow, that made the story even more powerful.
Because the lesson wasn't about who she was. The lesson was about what happened when you misjudge someone.
Those three men learned something that night. Something that would follow them for the rest of their lives. Power doesn't always announce itself, doesn't always wear a uniform or carry a badge or make threats.
Sometimes power is silent, invisible, patient. Sometimes it looks like an ordinary woman with a drink in her hand, standing alone on a Friday night. Until it doesn't. Until the shadows move and the professionals emerge and you realize, far too late, that you were never the predator in this scenario. You were always the prey. Real strength doesn't need to prove itself, doesn't need to bark or posture or make threats. Real strength moves quietly, watches carefully, and strikes only when necessary. The woman in this story never raised her voice, never made a threat, never needed to.
Because she walked through the world knowing something most people forget. True power doesn't come from being the loudest person in the room. It comes from being the most prepared, from having resources others can't see, from building systems that activate the moment they're needed,
from understanding that confidence isn't about dominating others. It's about knowing exactly what you're capable of when the moment demands it.
That night, three men learned the difference between appearing dangerous
and actually being dangerous.
They learned that the person who looks the most vulnerable might
be the most protected,
and they learned that in this world,
there are levels of power and authority that most of us will never see, never understand, never access, but those levels exist, and when you stumble into them by accident, when you make the mistake of threatening
someone who operates on a different plane entirely, that's when you discover just how small you really are.
So the next time you're out in the world, in a crowd,
On a street corner, in a bar,
remember this story. Remember that you never really know who you're looking at.
that ordinary appearance might be deliberate.
That person standing alone might not be alone at all.
And remember that real strength, true power, doesn't need to advertise itself.
It simply is. Silent, watching ready.
The invisible shield that protects those who matter most. If this story made you think twice about assumptions, about power, about the invisible forces that shape our world, then do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Silent Warriors for more stories about strength that doesn't shout and power that doesn't need to prove itself. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who understands that silence can be the loudest message of all. Because in a world that rewards the loudest voice,
We're here to celebrate the quiet ones.
the prepared ones, the ones who don't need to tell you how dangerous they are.
You'll figure it out on your own, usually too late.
Until next time, this is Silent Warriors, reminding you, never assume you know the whole story.
Stay sharp,
Stay aware.
stay silent.